The Shinobi series is back in a big way. Art of Vengeance, what a fun game. Developed by Lizard Cube. And I'll tell you what, you gotta love seeing that SEGA logo on there. SEGA brings me right back to the good times. Parents' basement, SEGA Genesis, nostalgia and love, and fighting with my brother for the controller. Oh man, good times. Joe Musashi is back in the Shinobi series, and we got a 2D action-adventure side-scroller just like the old times with a modern take. Sick art design, and I loved the backdrop and graphics, the hand-drawn style. I've heard it referred to as the graphics of this game. Sega and Lizard Cube have used before in Streets of Rage 4. I've heard some comparisons to. Also a Sega product. And this reminds me kind of Hollow Knight Silksong earlier this year, 2025, in the sense that if you have a good art design and you put time into level design, you don't need these cutting-edge graphics. You don't need to see the sweat of a beer bottle like in a GTA 6 trailer. A game can look great without needing Borderlands 4 premium hardware, right? And this is no exception. This game looks great, feels great. I played it on the Switch too. I did hear that the original Switch 1 release was a little low on frames when the combat gets heavy, perhaps a little worse resolution and frame drop, but I believe they patched it and improved it. And again, I was on the Switch too. I had no issues whatsoever. But back to it, the levels got some personality, the level design to them. And they are distinct from each landscape, whether you're in the desert, you're in the forest, you're riding on the back of a train, you're exploring laboratories. The ambience feels great, and you can't ever go wrong, in my opinion, with some fun platforming. And this is where Art of Vengeance differs slightly, I'll say, from the previous games. You're platforming and loving it, but it's not quite as linear as, especially as the old school games. You'll have some backtracking to do, some puzzle solving, nothing crazy. You typically will backtrack, hit a lever, maybe free some hostages or some other mechanics to unlock a door to progress. I wouldn't say quite Metroidvania style exploration or backtracking, but the levels felt just right. They had the right length. They're not too short, not too long, and some levels were quick, some were longer, but it was kind of sequential. And again, not quite Metroidvania back and forth. It was there was a linear aspect to it. In terms of, you can pick different levels, but again, overall linear. I wanted to hit on that aspect, given the slight difference between the older games, because with the old school ones, I'm talking the old school, the 80s, early 90s, it was a one-hit kill, go, go, go. This has some change of pace with that puzzle solving. Alluding to that change of pace, there is a much bigger focus on combos. You have some new ninjutsu, I think it's ninjutsu magic, and some other slight changes. But this is where the game shines, the combat. The combat for the win. This is my favorite part of the game, A+. You combo X and Y, maybe hit X twice, Y twice. You mix and match with your samurai, which you use 95% of the time pretty much, and you supplement that with some kunai you could throw for small damage. You can upgrade your combos as you get more gold throughout the game, but I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But you did have some special attacks. Of course you did, right? Platforming, beat 'em ups, you got to love it. These are all mechanics you've seen before. This game doesn't reinvent the wheel. But anyway, you had some special attacks called Ninpo. You could build them up with Ninpo cells. You could do them. They did like armor-piercing damage. You could blow some fire at some peeps. There was a counter which added some change-up and fun from the button-mashing combos. My favorite was that I just alluded to it, the ninjutsu magic. You go hard. Super Saiyan style power-up and pretty much just murder everyone on the screen. You could save it for when there are those platforms with so many enemies, you don't know what to do. You go Super Saiyan, you hit that ninjutsu magic, and boom, everyone's pretty much done for. I like to save it for the boss fights, and it'll take a nice chunk of their health down. But they added a couple different elements to that ninjutsu magic as well. Like you could heal up or give yourself a shield or damage reduction for a period of time. But both the Ninpo special and the ninjutsu magic, I'll call the ninjutsu spells kind of like an ultimate is the best way I can describe it. But both of which you charge up, and rightfully so, because they were pretty OP. So you had to charge them up with attacks and a rage meter, which you could build up from getting hit, things like that. A great mechanic. Second only to the specials and ultimates was the finisher, the executions, they called them. These were a huge part of your game. Once enemies and even bosses got to a certain health percentage, you see a little symbol pop up. And you see that symbol, you hit a button or two, and bam, executed. This is a more modern mechanic compared to the original side-scrolling, one-shot kill style games. But these were good to use, these executions, because they rewarded you with extra health. They would build up your kunai more, or even gold. Especially the more enemies you executed at once, you would get more of that, right? And you use the gold to get your combo upgrades at the shop. You could also get some passive or active amulet upgrades at the shop for some extra damage, little gear slots, right? Some extra, special perks, some shields or passive buffs. You gotta love it, right? You gotta love it. Now, you can't talk about the combat without mentioning the bosses. And I love it. Some real cool mechanics that were just right. I played it on normal and had some difficulty. It'll take you a couple rounds to get through some bosses, but you'll get through it. Definitely some tough fights on harder difficulties. And tailing off that, here is what I liked about the design overall of this game, the cadence of the game, the fights and levels, etc. And what's interesting is what I'm about to say. The reviews that I've seen, this mechanic kind of got knocked. This was like a negative in nearly every damn review I read. But here's what it is. Even on level 1, there are areas you cannot access until you get other abilities later in the game's progression and campaign. And the reason I appreciate that is because Shinobi Art of Vengeance is not as hard as the older games. It's not easy, but again, not as hard as the OGs. And number 2, it is a short 7 to 10 hour campaign. And because of that relatively short campaign, there was a lot of 100%ing potential to do through the levels. And this will be a great speed running game through history as well. I did some quick research, and of course, there are already 100% YouTube runs up. This game came out in August. This is a late review. So there's YouTube runs up. So I like that replayability aspect given that quick campaign. There are pockets of amazing challenges. I love this, called these elite squads. You could really challenge yourself on the higher difficulties. There were some brutal fights at times. But the beauty in this is that you don't have to do them. You can, if you want, do an elite squad challenge. But if you want to run through the campaign in 8 hours and put the game down, you can also do that. If you want to go back and go 100% completions through all the levels, you can do that if you want. If you want the elite challenges, you can go back and do them. It was a great mechanic. It was. And this was lit up and bashed in nearly every review, and I thought it was great. So let me know what you think. I kind of appreciated, I would see something, be like, how the hell do I get up there? And then, okay, well, given the platform, I have to get the ninja claws first to climb up there. Oh, maybe I have to get the glider to be able to glide up to the top to get to that other area. So it was a cool mechanic. I'm glad they added some replayability, again, given that quick campaign. One area I want to criticize, and I'm being so picky here, but in terms of a number rating, the old 1 to 10, I'm kind of like an 8.2 for this game, an 8.2, low 8s, and the reason being a couple knocks. The story and the character design or voice acting. Let's start with the story. The story is decent. Typical revenge plot. I said it earlier, Art of Vengeance doesn't reinvent the wheel with much, right? They pioneered the wheel. Shinobi games pioneered the wheel in a lot of ways, especially the platformer 2D style. So, shout out, respect to that. They helped create the wheel. But it's pretty standard across the board, this game is in general. It's pretty standard. The story is a little predictable. And I won't even call it a negative. I didn't really dock anything, but good old Joe Musashi, right? The Shinobi ninja, baby. He's back. He was living the good life, settling down with the missus, maybe having a baby. You don't know. Training his students as a sensei and head of the Oboro clan. You've heard this tale before, right? Lord Roos, wherever you want to say it, is making an appearance again as the main villain and antagonist of the military organization ENI. Paramilitary organization ENI, it's called. And guess what? He's attacked the clan. He's attacked the Oboro clan, Joe Musashi's village. He turned his students to stone. And guess what? You got to go stop him. You got to thwart his plans. You got to attack his bases and take down his henchmen before taking it to the man himself, Great stuff. You get a couple allies. And one thing I will say, I don't like to reveal too much in story. An interesting character joins the fight and is a main part of the plot, which I won't say too much, but of a little change of pace on the story, little twist and turn here and there. But overall, a classic revenge plot with a slight twist. B on the story, A+ on the combat, A++ on the combat, A on the platforming. A slight tick down, however, I alluded to, is the character design, which Shinobi does have good character design, but I'm biased because I can't help compare it to Hades 2, which I reviewed earlier this year. I loved it. The static characters and voice acting in Shinobi is very similar to Hades 2, meaning there is no motion capture for the characters, right? They are static characters, static character art. The Hades 2 animation and detail to their characters really popped, and you loved engaging with them. And again, I'm being very picky here. I admit this. The voice acting, perhaps, in Shinobi Art of Vengeance is not the same level as Hades 2, and this is a very small aspect of the game that certainly does not significantly impact your experience playing. It's funny, actually, because the main character, Joe Masashi, who you play as, literally just grunts the whole time. And you think eventually he'll talk. But no, he just grunts the whole time, which at first was like, come on, give me something. But after he kept doing it, and towards the end, I kind of respected it. So you got to love it. Overall, Sega making a bit of a comeback. I hope they keep coming. A+ combat. You got great platforming, classic, true to the originals, true to the original platforming, beat 'em ups. So past couple years, these games have been making a comeback, but really everything you need in a video game, right? It's cheap, $20, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, PC, Switch 1, Switch 2, whatever you want. Buy this game. I love you all. Thank you.